All right, thank you very much, and thanks to those that came back from lunch to hear about the exciting market of the Middle East. So I'm going to run through today. I'm not sure, a lot of you probably don't know a lot about the Middle East market, so I'll run through the current market situation. I'll go through what I see as the opportunities in the market that are coming, and I'll go through some of the programs in our strategy that we're working on. So the Middle East, or Middle East North Africa, MENA as we call it, made up of 19 countries across a very diverse region. The populations and the economic value of those countries is very differing. So within that market we have a couple of countries that have a population of well over 80 million, another one with 45 million, and then we drop off. But you can see in the large population countries the disposable income, or the average household disposable income, is very low. We also have a number of countries within there with very small populations but very, very wealthy. So they're mainly the GCC countries, the Gulf countries, where there is a considerable high-end market, very wealthy. You can see also that the consumption of beef varies throughout the region. So where do we fit? So Australia, we export out of Australia all categories of livestock and meat. So we still have some live trade. We do have a lot of sheep meat trade. In the beef sector, we represent about 4% of the actual beef market up there. It's actually a 675,000 tonne market for beef. A lot of you are probably sitting here, beef producers, thinking the Middle East is a sheep meat market. It's actually not. It's a chicken market. So that's our main competitor, and that comes in from Brazil. So that's a frozen chicken. So it's being retailed in the supermarkets up there for about $4 a kilo. So it's very cheap protein, and it goes to feed a lot of the people in this region. Now, when I say there's a lot of wealth, there is a lot of poverty as well, and a lot of low income. So that feeds them. So beef fits in as the third protein category, lamb is actually fourth. So there is opportunity, there is potential up there, but the competition is extreme. So you can see on the other chart, we're the third largest exporter to the region, but we have to follow behind Brazil and India. So 80% of the market is fed by Brazil and India. If you put that into, if you equate that to value, we're 140% more expensive than Brazilian buffalo meat, and we're 65% more expensive than Brazilian beef. So again, like the chicken, the market's chasing cheap protein. So where's that set us up? So we have to target what we can do best, and that's in the upper market. We don't want to compete with those low-end proteins. We can't afford to compete with them. We don't want to be there. So where we want to build and grow our market is in chilled or in grain-fed, to target the high-end consumer, and that's in retail or in food service. So what do? I'll move straight on to where I see the opportunities to build this. And that's in market stabilisation, changing consumer behaviour, and supply chain development. These are the three key opportunities that I recognise in the market as the market's going to change over the next 10 years. So to go into that in more detail, what I mean by market stabilisation is probably a settling in the market. You know, the Middle East market has a few challenges as far as a bit of conflict. They don't mind a fight up there. There's still a couple of wars going on, not too far from where I live. It doesn't really interfere with a lot of the countries though. So they're very good at keeping things away from where they don't want them. So within the GCC, we've seen big effects from the oil price in the last 5 years. We're seeing stabilisation in oil prices. So that's pretty healthy for a lot of those countries. Although the oil's at a lower price than where it was, it still means that they have wealth coming into their countries. They were very worried when oil dropped, so they cut a huge amount of government spending. With that came a lot of retrenchments of expatriate workers, cuts in wages, a lot of destabilisation in economies. So that affects spending. But what we're seeing now is stabilisation, reinstating a lot of the government projects, a lot of construction going on. That's all moving again, so that's becoming stable. And as you can see by the other bar chart over there, the ease of doing business in this region is becoming much better, much easier. It's still hard, don't get me wrong. It is a hard, you're dealing with some very hard importers and very hard customers up there. You have another cultural, language barriers up there as well as an exporter out of Australia that you have to overcome. And you have to be in the market. It's crucial to be in that market and service that market. But things are getting better. So where's stabilisation? Where the opportunity comes is it gives us, it gives people more confidence to go back into that market. So what we're seeing is tourism starting to develop again. They're building hotels to cater for this as well, which is great. Again, major government or semi-government companies that own these building companies, construction companies, they actually own half the hotel chains. So they're building and developing. They're encouraging tourism again. People are coming back into the region. There's two major events coming up on the horizon, and that's in Dubai, World Expo 2020, and in Qatar you've got the Soccer World Cup. Anyone that's interested in soccer, wants to go to Doha, could be interesting. And that's in 2022. So in those two countries, major development projects going on at the moment, building stadiums, building infrastructure, building subways, and building hotels. So that's very good opportunity, but that has to come with some stabilisation within the region. One of the biggest opportunity that I think and I see is in the changing consumer behaviour in the market. So the whole of MENA is a relatively young population, very diverse population as far as culture. We've got 19 countries, all with different backgrounds, but what they're doing is they're travelling a lot. Within the region, so you've got a lot of Arab countries are coming into the GCC to work. You've got a lot of the GCC with wealth are going out of the country to study. They get their education in Europe, the UK, and all through the US, and even in Australia. So there's a great education market in Australia for students from the GCC. So as those young people are getting educated and travelling, holidaying, it gets pretty hot in summer. They all take off through summer and go to Europe. So they get around, they see different foods, they see different cultures, they get exposed to different palates. When they come home, they want that in market. So you can see in the middle there that the increase, that's basically the increase of what they want to eat when they go out. So they don't want to eat their local cuisine anymore. They want to try Western stuff they've seen when they've left the country. So that gives us opportunity because a lot of that is beef. So you've seen great development up there in QSR and casual dining. A lot of that has been in hamburger. So hamburger chains are coming in. You've also seen a lot of domestic ideas coming up. So a lot of guys with a bit of money, they'll pool it and say, we want our own hamburger joint. So a lot of little tiny places opening up that offer more of a gourmet experience. But they're all good markets for us because they're coming in, a lot of them are wanting to use better beef or understand or see why they should be using Australian beef. They don't want to be using Indian or Brazilian buffalo. Brazilian beef or Indian buffalo. So it's all good for us. And we're also seeing, on the other side here, modern type retail. So they're moving away from more traditional or low-end retail, what we're calling tier 2 retail at the moment, which is supermarket trade, more into modern hypermarkets, large footprint stores with very good European model of retailing and meat category. And we're also seeing boutique stores opening up. So in a lot of the major capitals, there's these high-end boutique stores specialising in high-end meat. And these guys are doing a great trade because it's in the sector where we want to target as well, in that higher income. There's guys coming in there, they'll just buy whatever's the most expensive. They've got the money to do it and they want to be seen to be doing it. And they do. And these guys are catering for home delivery into palaces and into large villas and homes. So big orders and great orders. And this is where we're seeing some great opportunity for us because we can put our chilled product in there and we can put our grain-fed product in there. And that's chilled grass-fed as well because there's this perception that they want organic, and that's us. Now, to handle a lot of this, there's been some great investment in supply chain development. So we're in the middle of a desert, it gets pretty bloody hot. So they're investing in cold chain. So 10 years ago, a lot of product going in there was frozen. There's a lot of forgiveness in frozen product. You can leave it on a dock in 45 degrees for an hour and it won't do too much. You cannot do that with chilled product. And there's impacts for that and impacts basically to their costs. So they're realising that now and they're spending money. So they're starting to build cold stores, they're buying trucks with decent chiller units on there to handle the conditions and to be able to handle fresher product, more high value product, because they don't want to see the waste, they can't afford that. We're helping them do that and understand that chilled product, you have to handle it in a different way. And the other big plus over there is those air freights. The air freights into the region has increased considerably in the last 10 years. That's just not from Australia, that's from all over the world. Emirates are doing a great job, Etihad's the same, into the UAE. From there, it's becoming a bit of a hub. From there, all the other airlines are shipping back into the other regions. So people want fresher, better quality food, and they're prepared to pay for it through this expensive air freight, and that's where we fit in. It's not a great margin on an expensive product, it's a big margin on a cheap product. So this is working very well for us. So what our target is to keep in touch and look at these opportunities and target them. I'll work through some of the programs we do with the strategy. Brad's giving me a wind-up. It's good, right, I'm good. We'll go through, as we've discussed earlier, some of you missed it today, the market knowledge and understanding our markets is crucial. In this market, in this region, with so many different countries in play, it's very hard to keep a track of all of them. We can spend a lot of our time running around this area, this market, and waste a lot of time. So we've got to know what our market, what our targets are. So we're just in the final stages of finishing a report on the attractive cities where we looked at 31 cities within the region. We did a detailed analysis of them that identified 6 targets to drill into further. So in that, we've looked at 4 of our traditional markets to go into a deep dive and find where the next opportunities are there. We've also looked at 2 cities, which we probably think are probably a 10 to 15 target, because they are challenging. There's trade barriers, there's technical barriers, there's all things going on there, but they are huge markets that if we can know what we're doing and get the right opportunities, they've got great potential. So we rely on in-market people, my team in the UAE. I've got 6 in the team. We travel the region. We talk to the importers, we talk to the retailers. We spend a lot of time in food service. Some of you might have met Chef Tarek today, so he plays an important role because he's our bridge between the culture and the language. We also rely on our market insights team, you'll hear from Nat soon, to dig up all the data that we need to be able to assess and find these opportunities. So without this is a crucial part of what we do is market access. In most of this region, we operate in a pretty well free trade environment within that GCC type environment and a few of the other countries around where we don't have any tariffs. So most of those countries rely on imports. So they claim about 85's imported. In some of those countries and some of the work I've seen and done, it's about 95% of all food categories, all food groups go in as imported. For us, the biggest challenge is in shelf life. So within the region, all these countries have different policies on shelf life. Now, this makes the market very hard to target with chilled fresh product where we want to go. So we work with our government departments, Australian government departments, to help them and support them gain access to in-country government departments to start to influence change. We've had great success in the UAE. We've extended the beef shelf life to 120 days. It was regulation 70, accepted 90, but now they've written it down to 120. That just gives so much flexibility when you're dealing with chilled, high-value product, which is what we want to target. And our core business up there, what we spend most of our time on, is business development. So face-to-face is huge up there. You need to be around the region and talking to people. We encourage all our exporters and packers to come into the market and get in front of their people. We run what we call Gulf Food every year. This is the largest annual food show in the world. It happens in March. We have great attendance from the Australian, or great participation from the Australian sector. We are the Australian sector in the meat pavilion is the largest country represented. So last year we had 26 guys with physical stands. We had another 20 guys that were up there just for meetings. So as a percentage of the exporters, traders out of Australia, that's very high. We also work, well, what we're doing more of is working in social media. So across a large region, across a large population, it's very difficult with limited resources. We do get around, there's only 6 of us, but we can't spread it too far. social media has become a great tool. Up there in the Middle East, it's very common for most people to have 2 phones. So they're running social media on one, they're on the phone on the other. They're constantly on their phones. So we can target so many people. You've got a population of 450 million, and you've got most of them, even the low-end guys that work in labour camps on building sites, they all have smartphones. So it's phenomenal use of digital and social to create short format work, to do short videos. They just capture people's attention. It's quite common that we're getting 350, 370,000 views on a 5-second or a 10-second video these days up there. So compared to traditional ways of getting the message out, this is very cost effective. And we utilise Chef Tarek because we can't get him around all that market every day, but we can get him on social media every day. And what was the last point I had in business development? Social media. And, of course, the main pillar, one of our main pillars, which Jacob was talking about earlier, is brand building. With our brand building, what we do is tie in our halal message with it. We also, when we're training or consumer fronting, we also tie in the Australian story, because what they want to see is a holistic approach, which is all of what halal is about. So we educate them, we talk about openly up there the systems that what you guys are doing on farm. We talk about the LPA, we talk about NLIS, we talk about MSA as a form of grading, as a form of actually capturing better quality and what we're trying to do and how much resources we spend on trying to better what we do. We talk about safe food manufacturing, and that all works into the government-approved halal system that we operate under. And that is important in this market because they want halal product. There's still some percentage of the market that doesn't trust imports. So what we're trying to do is convince them, and we do. We do that quite successfully. Tarek does a great job in delivering that message. We're just running through, in the lead up to Ramadan, we're just going through a full campaign where we're targeting 5 countries. It'll go throughout the whole region on a whole halal message campaign where we tie the Australian story in about what we do, because the holistic approach is what they want. And it's proving time and time again to be one of our most successful ways of building our market and our trust. So I'll just run through and summarise up. So what we're trying to do is capture opportunities for Australian beef, targeting consumers in a diverse and competitive market. So we do that. It's crucial that we use all our resources available. That's market knowledge, opportunity or identifying opportunity, and developing these strategies that deliver returns for everyone in the supply chain, for all stakeholders involved. So I hope today has given you a little bit of an understanding of what we do in the Middle East, and thank you very much for your time.